All right, everybody, welcome back for another video of Virtual Warfare, text-based role-play fighting tutorial series. And today's video is actually going to be the first video for season 4, as you can see by the the intro thing, the fourth wall. But this video is going to be about Virtual Warfare 2.0, or an updated version of Virtual Warfare. Before Virtual Warfare, it was pretty much more systematic than it was based off of limitations. So it confused a lot of people. A lot of people wasn't really getting the system and the methods. So I tried to use what people already know and use that and have Virtual Warfare implemented into those limitations, so people can understand Virtual Warfare more easily. So I'm just going to read what it says. This rule set is based off the limitations of Holy Order and Anti-Assault, which is pretty much mostly it's just Holy Order, but I'm just trying to represent the two of them, which is a rendering of the original limitations within the D&D timeline. So if you looked at any of those rule sets, you can see all those limitations are based off of things that you cannot do within a D&D timeline. It's inserted into the system of Virtual Warfare, which emphasizes on the methodologies of step-by-step processes and the implementation of effort and large exertion to create a fair, consistent structure of gameplay, abilities, and rules. So if people know about Virtual Warfare, it's about the step-by-step process. Stating what things happen before other things happen. So I don't have to go too deep into that. So it said, instead of attempting to exploit the systematic inconsistencies of a rule set, which people call finding loopholes, which a lot of people do. People think finding loopholes in a rule set or something is cool, but in all reality, it just shows the inconsistencies of the rule set. So Virtual Warfare aims to use their methods of sound roleplay fighting to create a smooth, consistent system of what everyone is already familiar with to avoid people from being cheated. So people are already familiar with the limitations of Holy Order, stuff like that. So I'm going to use those limitations and implement Virtual Warfare into it. And before anybody, the people who created Holy Order or the people who use Holy Order, please do not say that I'm trying to steal your rule sets or anything like that, because that can, if you want to debate about that, there is a debate, because it's just, I'm not stealing. Now, I may be using a reference of them, but I'm not necessarily stealing the rule set, because everybody typically use the same type of limitations, because it's based off of D&D rule set. It's just like I don't gotta explain myself. So we're gonna get to the writing. And so the writing is a component used to create all things involving roleplay fighting: rules, plots, scenes, characters, abilities, etc. The following is an overview of the different forms of writing and the methodologies therein. So pretty much I'm just going to be reading the highlighted versions. Highlighted text. Everything else, everybody can read for themselves. So real life methodologies. All virtual events, powers, abilities, energies, and essence must be explained through any means of science or pseudoscience. So it speaks for itself. Everything that you use from the game, everything you use from the cartoon, you can't just say, I blast you with a Kamehameha. You have to explain what the Kamehameha is made of, how it's being projected out, what it's going to do to the opponent. You just can't say what it is and just expect people to just run with it. Battle data. Battle data is what Virtual Warfare calls words whose only purpose is to structure the material for the fight. These words only consist of the elements of physicality. It speaks for itself. Like confidence, skill, armed, head, finger, up, down, left, right, stuff like that. Those are battle data, things that can enhance the fighting. Filler can only enhance the RP visually, not make the attack or defense stronger. So you can't use colors and shading and stuff like that to make an attack strong. It just makes it look cooler. Challenger versus the challenged. So terms and conditions, setting the stage, and who issues the first attack. All depends on who's challenging. I gotta change that. That's kind of like, it's supposed to look like the other stuff. But terms and conditions. The one being challenged is given the first option to issue their own terms and conditions, world tier, and limitations for the fight. So the one who's being challenged, say somebody's challenging me, I'm the one that gets to, I should have the first option to say, well, we're going to do it this way, we're going to do it that, because you're challenging me. Now, because you can challenge me with whatever rule set, I can say, no, I don't want to do that. And then I'm sure that person will say, oh, whatever rule set you want to do, let's do it that way then. So the person who's being challenged should have the opportunity to say what they want. Setting the stage, the challenger is authorized to provide the scene, arena, battlefield, etc. So if somebody's challenging me, of course, speaks for itself. Somebody challenging me, they are the ones who have to set the stage and the scenery and stuff like that. Post and time limit. Okay, is a component players use to delegate a battle, to have a successful, neat, and legible post involving actions, attacks, events, etc. These synopses must be followed. So reposting. Reposting is allowed to fix any overlooked mistakes before the opponent replies. So if you see something, you made a mistake, you can fix it before the opponent replies. Simplified writing. Players have the right for any post to be simplified until it is understood. And this is the key part, until it is understood. Now, I debated about whether there should be a certain limit of simplifying, because some people can be like, oh, I don't understand it, to where it's like they just don't understand it, and it's kind of like it kind of creates a weird tension, because it's like, if you don't understand it, how can you reply to it? But so I just put until it is understood, and if the person don't understand it, even in its most simplified form, then there's a problem. There's a problem, and then it probably had to like just say, well, if you don't understand it, then that's your problem, and you just gotta reply the best you can, and that's all you can do. That's all you can really do. Time extension. Players are naturally given 24 hours or 48 hours, depending, to post their initial post. Players are allowed to ask a maximum of 48 hours of extra time for whatever reason to continue the fight. For whatever reason, like I said, look, I need 48 hours more because I need 48 hours more. You don't have to explain, you don't have to do anything. You just ask. They are allowed to ask for 48 hours. Now the key word is ask. It would be kind of corny for the person to say, no, you're not getting extra time. This is why it's just weird. But an honorable person will say, sure, you do have extra time, because it doesn't matter. Extra time. We all have lives, things. People need to do things in their life, so it's legitimate to ask time. Intros. Okay, intros is synopsis that allows players to enter the battlefield or area of battle through the range of aesthetical entries and issue attacks through the range of preparations. So pretty much intros and stuff like, coming to the field, whatever the case may be. And this is something that we need to pay attention to. Entering the battlefield. The maximum distance anyone can appear within the battlefield or area of battle is 500 feet. The minimum is 10 feet. Anything beyond or below these measurements can result in a disqualification. I got this we kind of got this idea from one of my friends, and we were debating about how far away a person should appear from a person, because it creates a problem. So he implemented it into his rule set, and so I decided to also implement that into my rule set. So this is what that is. Time framing. This is another thing. Both parties are scheduled to enter the battlefield or area of battle and begin prepping around the same time. So there is no such thing as someone comes to the battlefield and then 10 minutes later their opponent comes. That's not the way it's going to happen. Both players come into the arena at the same time. So therefore there is no There's no inconsistency on who was there first, or who had the most time to prep. So both players come to the come to the battlefield at the same time. Theatrical entries. Players cannot be attacked or prep during the time frame of their entry. Once a player begins to prep, the battle begins. So I can take 5 years. Even though it's illogical, but I could take 5 years coming into the battle, and my power flare up in the air, and I swing my sword around, all that stuff like that. I could do that. Players cannot be attacked during that time, because I'm not attacking, I'm doing my entry. I allow the entry to happen. However, once I begin to prep or say anything about how power is coming out because I need to figure out the area around me, that's when the player is allowed to attack, because it's a preparation. It's a preparation, and players are allowed to stop preparation. But again, if I'm just coming into the arena and coming in through a fog or whatever, my character is coming up, you can't attack me during that time. First strike. Player 2, the second poster, is allowed to interrupt the prep of player 1. So if player 1 comes in through his little entry and begins to prep, since both players are coming in virtually at the same time, player 2 can interrupt the preparation of player 1. So neither player will have the time to prep. This is another thing I was debating about with my friend, and we talked about how a player should interrupt a person, stuff like that. So it just makes it more legitimate, because I don't want to get too deep into it. Just either player can interrupt either player when a prepping is happening. The first player can't attack because the first poster can't attack because the first poster. However, if that first poster is beginning to prep, since the second person again is coming at the same time as the first poster, they can interrupt the prep. However, if the second person does not interrupt the prep and begins prepping, the first player can interrupt that player's prep instead of just rocking out with their own preparation. So that's the way it goes. Arenas. Arenas are platforms designed to present the fighters with a place to engage in battle. These synopses should be avoided to have a fair, legitimate arena. Excuse me. So no home field advantage. Now, I've seen some some rules like back in the day, like 2006 or something like that, where it says that if you're posted first, you can create the arena however you want, and to create it to where your character has an advantage. But that's cheating. That's just cheating. Like I'm a fire elemental, a fire mage, and then we fight in a pit of lava. Like that's corny. Like what I'm saying, I'm gonna have the upper hand regardless. So even though it all depends on the mastery of the player. Because no art is really better than any other art. It all depends on how much that player mastered that art. However, stuff like that, I'm a fire mage, you're a water mage, and we fight in a pit of lava. Like, come on, like the chances are I'm going to win because I'm a fire mage. So no establishing arenas or fortresses that complements the abilities or puts the opponent at a disadvantage. So this is that, and no arena control. Establishing arenas or fortresses that bend to the will of a player is prohibited. For say I see this one guy, he had an island. He made his island, and this island was like submitted to his will. Like anything he say or think, the trees would come out of nowhere and try to attack the person. Animals will show up, like all this stuff like that. You can't have an arena that you can control. It's like it puts the opponent at a disadvantage. You have to make a fair playing arena so both parties can have the same advantages and disadvantages for the fight. Excuse me. Multi-gaming. This multi-gaming is a synopsis that I keep using the synopsis wrong. Anyway, it's a synopsis that can occur from a player's attempting to gain the upper hand through other means besides that which governs the naturality of role-play fighting. The one that we all know is metagaming. Metagaming is when a player uses knowledge gathered from out of character standpoint and apply them to a character's knowledge. Do I have to explain? Like, I feel like I need to explain. Well, that's pretty much saying, well, if you read an opponent's stance and you see that they have fire manipulation, then all of a sudden, you want to build like an ice shield around it because they use fire. But your character didn't know that. You knew that, but your character didn't. You applied that knowledge to your character, and that's pretty much out of character knowledge. Paragaming is something that I innovated because people like to do this. Paragaming is when a player steps out of character to explain or add extra detail to a post that should have been added during an in-character standpoint. So some people some people aren't the best writers. There's nothing wrong with that. However, when people write stuff, they might explain, oh, I did this and I did that. Oh, you need to look at it this way and stuff like that. That's paragaming, because everything that you just said should have been posted in an in-character standpoint, not posted and then you step out of character and try to explain the best you can. That's paragaming. That's another form of gaming. It's shame gaming, which is something I just added because, it happens sometimes. And it's when a player uses derogatory statements to shame, defamate, or condescend the opponent. So people might, oh, you corny, or you died already, I beat you before. And people use that as a tactic to make the audience or the judges, it's kind of like poisoning the well, and it makes the people around the fight judge the person unequally, or judge the person without knowing all the truth, So it's like, say I was fighting whatever, and that person beat me before, right? And say, oh, I already beat you already, and this and that. So it's like, damn, if you beat him already, that means, whatever this person is going to say is probably correct because, he won already. So, I'm going to lean towards the person who's going to be the winner or who already won before. This is shame gaming, or anything that can poison the well of the fight is shame gaming. Preparation controls. This is going to be a long video. That's good though, because season 4 is going to have a lot of long videos. We're just going to be chilling, talking, stuff like that. Anybody want to watch it, it's fine. I don't care. But I'm just having fun. So excuse my arrogance and me saying that. I'm just trying to chill. Preparation controls. Preparation controls are directives that are designed to orchestrate the proper mechanics and sound methods to undergo forms of preparation based on time, space, and energy. So when it comes down to preparations, like, there is really no, I ain't gonna say there is no system, but the system to prep is kind of obscure. People be doing stuff in milliseconds. All right, hold on, that song's coming. People be prepping in milliseconds, making their own prep system, and it's not consistent with the rest of the players or rest of the rule set. So this is me trying to make a consistent method or system of preparation. So laws of exertion. Everybody knows the laws of exertion, and they know me in virtual warfare. All actions, attacks, blocks, levels of concentration, events, etc., will either undergo an animation through a light, medium, or full exertion. So the light exertion will be between 1 and 34% of your power. Medium exertion, and respectively, you see it right there, So this is those are the levels of exertion, So we can get to the implementation of that later on in the rule set. Preparation magnitudes. All preparations are scaled by the law of exertion, as magnitude is based on time plus effort, which can be interchangeable depending on the technique. The base scale of preparation proportions raised by 25 to 35% every second using a light exertion. So this is me trying to make a consistent system of how preparation should go. For an example, if a maximum output is 500x, in 1 second with a light exertion, it becomes around 650x, give or take. I'm using approximate because I'm using approximate because it makes it more easier to understand. So pretty much 25% of 500 would be like 150 or something around that time, around that number. So plus 150 plus 500 would be 650. So if someone using a light exertion, for to say the speed is 500, you know, just right there. The maximum speed is 500. If someone uses a light exertion, charge up their power and channel through their body, they'll be able to exceed that limitation you know, 150 miles per hour more, you know. And if they want to further exceed that, they have to charge up, like Dragon Ball Z. Like people charge up Dragon Ball Z to get more power. It's the same concept, just in a systematic way for role play. Preparation durations. All abilities that are required a preparation to be used, the time and effort of usage must equate to 2 seconds with a medium exertion. We will get to this later on. You'll see the things that need preparation, and in order to use those powers, you will have to, your character has to undergo preparation that uses a moderate amount of the effort for 2 seconds. If it don't happen that way, it don't happen at all. Here you go right here. Preparation is needed is a component that must occur for players to provide an equal opportunity for their actions to be noticed and stopped. Preparations can be carried through a process of initiation, a focus, spell, prayer, hand sign, etc. Duration of time and or act of charging. These are the feats that need to be prepped in order for them to occur. So we can look at some things right now that need to be prepped. Temporary invincibility. To be invincible, no, I'm gonna just read them off, you know. So temporary invincibility. Homing attacks, all cloning abilities, regeneration, illusions, and all transformations. You know, so these are the things that I don't know if they was just necessarily banned. I don't think they was banned in the Holy Order. Ruleset of the City, you just have to do it with some type of preparation. But again, because there is no structure or systematic structure for preparation to be carried out, all characters have their own preparation. It just be weird. It just be inconsistently weird, and like I said, room for loopholes. You know, so this is not what virtual warfare is trying to do. And if I may say, I want to say this: a good player doesn't happen by that person trying to find loopholes in the system. A good player happens when they're honest about themselves and honest about the structure of role play and trying to find fairness and consistency in the role play fighting. Not trying to find loopholes or, oh, they didn't say this, therefore I get to use it. No, that's not how you become a good fighter. A good fighter is being fair, honest, consistent, equal. That's how you understand the things that need to be done for role play fighting, because if anybody can find a loophole, but it takes a humble person to be like, you know what, this is not fair. I'm gonna find a fair way to do it. This is how you become. You be creative when you do stuff like this. I'm gonna just move on. Miscellaneous files are dynamics within. I think I said that right. Miscellaneous files are dynamics within the world of roleplay fighting that are difficult to scale in a consistent way, but needs to be to keep the structure of roleplay fighting to run smoothly. So some of these things are things that happen during roleplay, but nobody really cares about. They don't really pay close attention to. They don't really structuralize it the way that needs to be structuralized. So this is my attempt to do exactly that. Drawbacks and inertia. All types of kinetic outputs, attacks, blocks, levels of concentration, projectiles, etc., through any form of measurement, speed, force, effort, etc., will suffer from the effects of drawback and inertia. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a light punch, a hook, whatever. It will suffer the effects of inertia. It will suffer the effects of drawbacks. Now, drawbacks for me, sometimes drawbacks is like when Goku. Sorry, I keep using Dragon Ball Z reference because I like Dragon Ball Z. Goku used the Kaioken. He's like Kaioken, whatever. He used it all up, and then his body is completely destroyed because he just, his muscles been working out, through that Kaioken. That's a drawback, something that, like a consequence from something that happens, However, this consequence can go to the more subtle scale. For example, like boxing. When somebody box and they throw a hook, you know, they have to recover from that hook first before they throw another punch. They can't just throw a hook and they can't throw two hooks at the same time. It's impossible, you know. It's possible, but it's dumb, you know, it's impractical, you know. So that person has to recover from that hook first before they throw another hook, you know. So this is another form of drawback, you know. And inertia comes from like a haymaker, you know. Someone throwing a haymaker, you know, they have to wind up, they have to gather energy before they throw it, and then you know, the energy that trails off is also part of the inertia, you know. And yes, inertia is like, I don't know. I don't know the scientific implication of inertia. I just know that it's based on things speeding up and slowing down because of gravity, because of physics, stuff like that. Maximum output and maximum effort. Any character using a speed, force, or movement at the maximum output or maximum limitation is also using a maximum amount of effort to do so. This is something that I talked about a long time ago, how people was like, I run at you at Mach 1 speed and punch at you with 10 tons of force, or whatever the rule set or limitation for strength. And, you know, people don't realize, like, if your character is dishing out the maximum power possible in the rule set, that means your character has a cap. That means your character is reaching that cap when your character is, you know, executed through that cap. You know, that's a lot of caps. So I hope people understand that if your character is punching at the maximum force, your character is using the maximum potential, you know. So that means drawbacks will happen, you know. Recovery time must come into play. Inertia must have an effect. You can't just say, I punch at you with all this force and then a millisecond later you're doing another attack. That's not roleplay fighting. That's not roleplay fighting at all. It's just your imagination thinking that's roleplay fighting, but it's not roleplay fighting at all. And I don't mean to disrespect anybody who actually does that, but I'm just trying to encourage them that this is not the proper way to do it. Like I was saying before, it's about fairness and it's about consistency. It's not about finding loopholes in the system. So summoning. Maximum amount of objects a player can summon is 100 needles equals 5 daggers equals 2 swords equals 1 dog-sized animal. So it's pretty much based off the weight, the object's weight, and the mass and weight on the scale, using this scale, which is the scale I just said. Any mass and weight exceeding the scale must be done through preparation, or it will be considered a mass summoning. You know, so if you can summon 100 needles, cool. But if you summon 200 needles, it's considered mass summoning. You know, summoning 1 dog is cool, but you know, if you summoning 3 or 4 dogs, that's mass summoning. You know, because it was hard to scale. Like Miscellaneous says, you know, things that's hard to scale but needs to be to have a smooth and consistent system. You know, so mass summoning in Holy Order was not scaled. It just said that no mass summoning, but there was no line drawn to say what was mass summoning and was not. So this is my attempt to actually use virtual warfare to implement a scale that's consistent so people can follow and, you know, not find loopholes or be cheated. Carrying items. Carrying items is the maximum amount of items a player is able to hold based on the amount an average person can hold that item in their arm. You know, so you know, people want to carry. People like to have like 100 swords or whatever. We get to that. But right now, we can say interdimensional luggage. You know, some people like to have swords stacked up in another dimension. You know, so they could just like open the portal, whatever, pull out this sword. That's fine. That's fine. However, you can't have infinite amount of swords. It's just cheating. Like, it defeats the purpose, because if I'm fighting and I'm using skill to disarm you, all I can do is pull out another sword and just pull out swords all over the place. That's just. There has to be a limit, and that limit is based off carrying items. So if a person is able to carry 10 swords in their arm, that's how much swords you are allowed to have in another space, or have on you, whatever the case may be. You know, because if you could come in carrying swords, you could come in carrying swords. I can't say that, oh, you're not allowed to have all them swords, because you're able to carry them. However, you can't use all them swords at once because you only have 2 hands, unless you want to use some type of telekinetic force or whatever, which is fine, but you have to come and carry those swords. You can't just say the swords are floating behind you. You got 50 swords around me floating. Like, no, it has to be a limit. There has to be a limit to everything. You know, if not, you're going to have inconsistencies. You're going to have people claiming they're finding loopholes and all that stuff like that, and it's just not ideal. I don't know if I should split this in 2 parts. It's a long video. Hopefully my phone have enough space for it. So if I cut off, I just restart it. God mode. God mode is just these other 2 sections pretty much speaks for summons to run through this fed. Okay. A God mode is a concurrence that occurs when a player is breaking the laws of physics, breaking laws of the rule set to commence actions through a scientific impossibility. These are the synopses that falls under God mode. Omnipotence, you know, nothing, you can't have all power, you know, or like it says right there in the highlighted version. I don't got to read the highlighted versions because it speaks for itself. God sent abilities, you know, you can't have direct power from God. Cosmic powers like supernova, gamma rays, and stuff like that. Can't have that. Infinite amount of anything. You can't have that. You can't manipulate time and space. You can't completely teleport your whole essence. Like, you can't do that. You got to travel somehow interdimensionally. You can't just teleport. Complete disappearance. You can't disappear from existence completely. Antimatter manipulation. You just can't do it because antimatter is very strong and it's unstable, and it's not a lot of scientific implications to control antimatter and manipulate it out the blue. You know. Absolute zero is theoretical, therefore it's impossible to use. The Big Bang creation is also theoretical, therefore it's impossible to use. You can't create something out of nothing, you know. That's just God mode, obviously. Controlling all 4 elements simultaneously is just overpowering. It's just God mode. And instant happiness. Nothing happens in an instant because that's God mode. Autoing. Autoing is a concurrence that occurs when a player doesn't provide an equal opportunity for any space-time to be occupied, and or not commencing action that causes a player to skip a step within a space-time continuum. Pretty much auto hitting follows the second part. You know, it skips the steps and doesn't provide the opponent an equal opportunity to avoid it. Auto hitting, auto grabbing, auto prepping is another thing that people I had to implement because I seen people just say I activate my ability, but it's like, all right, how did you do that? You know, did you focus? Did you snap your fingers? Did you do a hand sign? You can't just say I activate my ability. That you have to show how you activated your ability, or you can't just have abilities prepped already. It's like it's a passive ability where it's like, all right, just activate my ability and this stuff happens. Like, no, like you have to show a sign where your opponent can stop that from happening. If not, then it's auto. Auto healing, you know, is not allowed. And it depends on the character. Like Wolverine. If you have a Wolverine character, your character heals, fine, you get it, you know. But if you can't instant heal, you know, that's the thing. You can't instantly heal, which it makes the power doable. Auto scale. This is something else I had to implement because people. This is the thing. Say, for example, my opponent is dishing out an attack, and he says that he's dishing out 6 tons of power to blow me away, whatever. Right? You know what people do? All they do is one up them. I use 7 tons of power to do you away or whatever. But it's like, how did you know how much power that person was using? How did you know how much power you need to use to overcome that situation? So people this is auto scaling. People just automatically just scale powers and just dish out the power to deflect them. That's auto scaling, and that's illegal because it's an automatic. You know, you have to explain how you found out how much power this person is using, how much power you need to use. You know, you can't auto scale stuff. You need to explain how it's done. It's called autoing. And then last one is puppeteering. You know, automatically controlling a person's character. Limitations. And this video is pretty long. I think it's almost over though. Limitations. Limitations are laws used to set a definitive standard of limits to keep the system of role-play fighting from being freely torn apart or broken. So speed, Mach 1, you know, that's typical MP. Force, 2 tons. Now people use different tons. People use 2 tons, 10 tons, whatever. Right now I'm using 2 tons. If people can explain or give me reasons to change it, I will change it. Right now it's 2 tons. Energy force is 10 tons, you know. So even though the physical force is 2 tons, the energy force, like projectile force, could be 10 tons, you know, which is fine because we both can do 10 tons. Teleforce, you know, telekinetic forces can only occupy or you know, control or have a capacity using 1 ton of force, you know, so it speaks for itself. Jumping height, 50 feet. I added jumping height because people like to jump miles into the air, like I seen this one guy do. That's not really ethical to do, but I needed to have a jumping height because it's just okay to have it, you know. I wanted to add a reaction time too, but I didn't really get that far, and this is too much thinking. It's just too much. It's too much nitpicking, too much being precise. So I just let that ride out for now until I actually see people abuse it. People do abuse it, but right now I haven't, you know, really come in contact with anything like that. Maximum temperature, maximum natural temperature is 2,000 degrees Celsius, which is actually a complete rendering from Holy Order rule set. But the 100 degrees Celsius is based off the coldest place on Earth. So I typed up what is the coldest place on Earth, and this is what they gave me. And the coldest place on Earth is 100 degrees Celsius. And so this is the coldest temperature that anybody can actually, you know, can have. But however, like I said right here, anything higher or lower than these levels must be done through a preparation. You know, so most of these things can be exceeded, but it has to be done through a preparation, like I was saying earlier. Black hole first, you know, not the actual, not the actual physics of the black hole, but the dynamics of, you know, having to pull everything in and to crush everything. It cannot exceed more than 1 ton. Anything that exceeds or try to pull something, like I can't pull a building apart with the black hole force unless I'm using preparation. But if it's something like small, light, like a person or a sword or something, like I can use the black hole thing and pull it to me. But also people can actually maximize their weight by charging up and creating just creating heavier molecules and attaching themselves to the ground so they cannot be pulled. It's something that I don't know if people knew about. Gravity force, 500 pounds. If I want to manipulate gravity somehow, I can only use 500 pounds. Magnetism force, same thing, 500. So this is the thing. Magnetism strength, it starts at 500 feet from 10 feet apart, and it fluctuates 10 pounds each foot, give or take. You know, so if I'm 9 feet apart from you, it would be 510 pounds. If I'm 11 feet apart away from you, it would be 490 pounds. So the further you are, the less strength you have. You know, the closer you are, the more strength. You know, is the best ways I can scale it, the most consistent ways to scale it. You know, because in all reality, gravity, black hole, stuff like that are banned in Holy Order, which it should not be banned because it's an actual power. But because it's banned, it's because people abuse the power and they don't have a structure. They don't have a systematic way of doing things. Therefore, people think it's loopholes and they just do whatever they want. But it's not loopholes. It's just finding a fair way to do it that doesn't make it seem like it's God mode and autoing to make it doable in the system. And PSI resistance, you know, a person's flesh naturally can resist 1 ton of pressure, you know. And I looked it up, but I think it's like if you get shot with a gun, you probably like get bruised or something, like cut. But I don't know. I may have to like reiterate that. But that's what that is right now. Unbanned powers. Man, how much time is going on? Okay, it's okay. Once I ain't over an hour. It's almost done anyway. Unbanned powers. Now these powers are banned again in Holy Order and through virtual warfare's system. You know, it uses a certain method to have these powers usable. You know, so people can have a fair equal opportunity to deflect it, to fight against it, and to resist it. You know, so unbanned powers is a synopsis that occurred due to the implications of abilities being too powerful, causing players to potentially auto/God mode and or become impossible to be formulated in a legitimate way. You know, so but first we're going to talk about the way it should be done. First, we can look at the powers first. So it's mind reading, premonitions, and blood manipulation. Like these are things that's banned. You can't read the future. You can't read somebody's mind. You can't manipulate somebody's blood. You know. However, there's a way to do these things if you follow the correct method. First, players must create a connection with their opponent. You have to create a connection in order to read their mind, in order to manipulate their blood, whatever, to see what they're going to do next. You need to create a connection. Second, if the connection is successful, the player must provide a duration of time in which the effect will fully take place, and a level of effort, So it's like, once I'm in connection, like I say, in 3 minutes, like 3 seconds, the person will be fully under my control, So that person, within that 3 seconds, that person has the opportunity to resist against it. So they can have an opportunity first to avoid and block the connection, and then if they are connected to the source, then they have an opportunity to resist or fight against the time by shooting like a quote unquote antibody or anti-surge or whatever to deplete the surge or the connection. And then lastly, the player must then provide the action, occurrence, or event in which they want the opponent to experience. So once I make the connection, I say in 3 seconds the player will be fully under my control, and then because of it, the player will jump up and down, do jumping jacks for 5 minutes or whatever, And during that time, that person still has the opportunity to resist the power from actually making them dance or whatever, Because it all depends on a level of exertion. If I'm using a light exertion to manipulate the power, all that person has to do is use a stronger willpower, a stronger exertion to overcome it. Now, if I'm using all my power, I'm not going to give the tactic or how to do that because, it's just, I don't like, sharing everything that I know. But that person will be at a disadvantage if the player is trying to use all their concentration to control a person's character. It'd be at a disadvantage. But still, again, using this, the right amount of effort, and the person would have the opponent would have to use the right amount of effort. And yeah, I mean that's the way it has to go. So it's 3 steps. Connection, the time, duration, and the energy it takes to fully influence, and the action in which the influence is created. Each time the opponent has an equal opportunity to block, avoid, and defend against it. And this is what makes these things doable. Excuse me. AWOLs. AWOLs, or absent without leave, or which I just created, absent without officially leaving, may occur during a match. These are things that should be considered if such things happen. So the benefit of a doubt. If a person suddenly stops posting, 48 hours from their initial in-character post must pass before a disqualification can be issued. Now, the key word is can it be issued? I'm saying, like, it don't say it just happens automatically. It can be issued, depending on who you are as a fighter. If you want to give the person time to reply, fine, cool. I'm saying, if you want to disqualify the person after 48 hours, that's on you. That's your character. I mean, that's the way you want it. That's your motives. That's your characteristics of a person. You do it however you want to do, and however lenient you want to be, however humble you want to be. But 48 hours must pass before the person, even if the rule sets say 24 hours to post. If that person just suddenly starts posting out of nowhere, 48 hours must pass before a disqualification is issued, because nobody knows the extent of a person's life. Nobody knows what's going on, what's happening, and that's it. But it's the thing, losing without death. So say it was like a PMD, was it PMD? PDM, right? Permanent death. Say PDM, whatever, which nobody really used to do anyway. But for the sake of this rule, if a person suddenly AWOLs from a battle, the AWOLer simply loses. So it doesn't matter what the stakes are, the person just loses, because, like, again, like, sometimes people don't have control over, everything over their life. And even though, yes, I engaged in the battle, and I'm aware that things can happen and stuff like that, but I don't, it would be sad to say the person dies, and they gotta, like, delete their character or whatever the stakes are. That person simply loses. The winner has the bragging rights of winning, and the loser just simply takes the loss. Just fair, because people, like I said before, things come up in people's lives, and we just gotta handle them. We can't, can't rope and fight. So it brings leniency and it brings humility to the rope and fighting to say that, look, you just lost. I'm saying we can fight again, but you just lost. That's it. I'm saying? You don't die. You don't gotta give up your character. You just lose. And that's that. The last bit is company. The company is some of the virtual warfare implemented. Company are the people eligible to speak during the match about the player's ability and action. All other onlookers, I'm sorry, I yelled that. All other onlookers should remain silent unless presented a compliment, So you go, yeah, that's good, man, keep going, Ain't no, oh, you did this wrong. Oh, man, you didn't know. Quiet. So in my room, if people did that, I'll get warnings and I'll ban them, But like, if you give them a compliment, oh, that joint was hot, oh, that joint was cool, it's fine, I'm saying. But judges are responsible for making sure the fair nature of the system is rightfully being established for the roleplay, So people think judges, people have their judges. Their form of judges is, oh, I judged the fight, and oh, you did this wrong, and you did that wrong. But in reality, like in the court system, a judge is a person who makes sure that the lawyers are presenting the cases, and the judge is the one who takes the case and see if the evidence holds up to scrutiny. The judges don't say, oh, you did this wrong, oh, you did that wrong. It's the lawyers that defend or says that the person did something wrong, whatever. So that's what the lawyers are. Lawyers are people that players regulate the terms and conditions of a fight before, during, and after it begins. Lawyers are not allowed to point out anything that the player do not point out themselves, unless it is severely relevant to the matter. So some people are like, oh, you forgot that, but it's like, I don't care about that. Like this one person, this is not to disrespect the person, whatever, but it could have been trolling, but it was like, the person was like, yeah, how many hairs do you have in your head? And it's like, okay, I don't know if he was trolling or not, I don't know, but like, a judge can't point out stuff like that. Oh, you didn't state how many hairs you had in your head. It's like, come on, the lawyers, I'm sorry. The lawyers can't do that because it's like, it's not something that's bothering the players. Let the players fight. Let the fighters fight. Let them have their own experience. Let them learn for themselves instead of just pointing out things that you point out. Because again, virtual warfare follows the laws of exertion, and nobody follows the law of exertion. So if I was a judge, I'd be pointing out all the time, oh, you didn't state the level of concentration. Oh, you didn't state the effects of inertia during this time. Oh, you didn't state. I'd be doing that all day, and I'd just be nitpicking. That's corny. I don't even do that with my opponents, because my opponents don't fight the same way. I fight in a totally different way. I don't want to say, try to boast myself up, but it feels like I fight in a more sophisticated way, because I like to have the best control over my character, and that goes off of time, how much effort my character is using, what type of concentration my character is using. I'm not just going to say activate my ability and I dash at you at Mach 1 and use 200 tons of force and inertia don't affect me. Like, no, I'm not. I'm trying to be fair, honest, and equal. That's how you become a better fighter. And like I said before, lawyers can't point out things that players don't point out themselves, unless it is something severely wrong with the post. So if a person in God mode and the character overlooked it, or the fighter overlooked it, then the lawyer can say, look, this person in God mode is going to mess up the rest of the post if you abide by this inconsistency. But the lawyer can't say, oh, you didn't state that you tied your shoes, therefore you slip and fall. Like, come on, like that's nitpicking. And lawyers are not allowed to nitpick. Last one is advocates. Advocates are people chosen by players who are allowed to speak on their behalf as a means to help justify any actions that may be misunderstood within the roleplay. For me, now I might have one of my students or somebody that I train be my advocate, because they know everything about my powers, they know who I am, they know how my powers work, so they can help me explain things in a way that I can't explain things to other people, because I have a way with words, and sometimes my choice of words or how I present my words doesn't always come across as contemporary, and I might talk too sophisticated when I'm explaining my things, but when other people might just dumb it down for other people and help other people understand it better, or they just might say it in a different way that relates to that person's language, and it's something that I can't do, and you know, that just helps out. You know, it's an advocate. You know, advocates speak for the person on their behalf. You know, so that's pretty much it. You can have a lot of advocates. That's right there. You can have a lot of advocates, but to avoid like a lot of confusion, all these people talking, just have one. Just have one talk for you. That's it. You know, and that's pretty much the end of the video. This is the first video for Virtual Warfare Season 4 for the fourth wall. The rest of the videos for the lessons, I got 2 more lessons for Season 3, which I didn't upload yet, but it's gonna be uploaded on the website, the Roleplay Fighting Handbook, the RPF Handbook.com. They're gonna be on that because there's a lot of exclusive stuff that I don't want to share entirely with the world. So if people really want to learn something new and fascinated, you're gonna have to go to the website and do it instead of just watching YouTube and just learning. Everybody have access to it. I don't really want that to happen. And also the same thing's gonna happen with the rest of the lessons too. The pataphysical lessons will be on the website too, because there's a lot of exclusive stuff that, you know, not everybody should have access to, because I mean, I don't care who has access to it, but I'm just trying to make it esoteric, you know, so only a few people understand. And if they want to understand, they go to the website. Stay tuned for just more things. I'm trying to do like gaming and stuff like that. We're gonna start doing a podcast soon with somebody. So you're gonna have a lot of long videos like these. You know, it's not gonna be a lot of short videos anymore. There will be some, but not a lot. It's just gonna be me running my mouth and stuff like that and just talking, because I'm getting old and, you know, I'm getting tired. I'm tired of, it's just a lot to do, man. A lot to do, a lot of editing, a lot of talking. I mean, I just want to chill, make some friends. I'm saying, like, reconcile with people that I had beef with, you know, interview them, stuff like that. Just enjoy roleplay fighting instead of just like trying to be somebody in roleplay fighting, you know, what people try to do, you know. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching the video. I hope everybody liked the video. You can let me know in the comments, you know, anything that I can change, anything I can do, you know, stuff like that. Just anything, you know. I can accept constructive criticism, but do not say, now do not say, oh, I don't mean disrespect, but this and that. Just say it. You know what I'm saying, don't say, because I'm going to take it as disrespect, because people do that. As soon as they want to disrespect, quote unquote, disrespect somebody, they say, oh, I don't mean no disrespect, but this and that. Like, just say it. You know what I'm saying, I humbly accept it. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, that everybody who does that is going to say something disrespectful. I just think that you're going to say something disrespectful. You don't want me to take it disrespectful. It's like, I get it. You know what I'm saying, but just say it. I mean, I'm not gonna like be mad. Just say it. Just say it. Just be honest with yourself. Be honest, and I'm humbly accept it. You know. That's it. I guess that's it. I see everybody in the future. Wait, I said that backwards. Thanks everybody for watching, and I see everybody in the future. Deuces.